There are countless games doomed to obscurity, even ones given multiple second chances, and for some reason this extends to a game with the weird title, Todd's Adventures in Slime World. How does a game with a title like that not sell 1 billion copies? Perhaps it being initially exclusive to the Atari Lynx contributed to this, but that didn't stop Chip's Challenge, that super famous game no one under the age of 30 has heard of. This battery-guzzling brick is probably still the best way to play Todd's Adventures in Slime World even today, despite the fact that it was given multiple re-releases. For good and bad, this is a game that feels like it was meant to be played on the go. But what we have here is a weird exploratory platformer where our hero Todd travels to the titular slime world and then leaves, only to do it again with different settings. It's weird, but it's stretching its concept to its breaking point and I respect it. And the game is basically all gameplay focused, with none of that pesky writing in the game, outside of really small cutscenes that just show us Todd landing, and then later escaping. But whoever wrote the manual really came in clutch to give us not just a little bit of story, but a multi-page prologue to set up the events through multiple narrators. But as I said earlier, Lynx owners weren't the only ones to get a handful of Todd, because 2 years later in 1992, it saw remakes for the Mega Drive and for the PC Engine CD. Gotta praise the PC Engine one specifically for giving us more scenes of Todd, complete with voice acting.
問題はそのスライムと謎の鉱物石との秘密だ。きっと見つけ出してみせるさ。スライムの秘宝を。よし、行くぞ!
Though these versions, while impressive, don't quite hit as hard to me as its initial release, and not just because of my weird bias. But the controls feel best on Lynx with its mini buttons, whereas the Mega Drive and PC Engine controllers were a little limited and had to do the best they could. But I also have other small issues with it. There's a lot more slime variety, aesthetically speaking, on the Lynx, whereas on the consoles things just seem a bit more green. On Lynx, it also uses an overbearing amount of black for its backgrounds, which I love. It feels a lot more imposing than the dark green of the consoles. This original release gives off an almost Metroid-esque aesthetic, which really helps the tension of a game about an explorer on an alien world, even if he's just called Todd and he's awesome and has sunglasses all the time, and the world is just called Slime World. If everything I said didn't make it obvious, we play as Todd, a bold and nearly fearless galactic explorer as the manual puts it. He's in the Andromeda sector and he discovers a drifting starship that is deserted, but still home to its captain's log. And this details the discovery of Slime World and the horrors that entailed. Each of these partial recordings Todd has access to doubles as a quick way to tell you what all the game's modes actually are, even if the game itself also does it in a very simple, flavorless version. I just love that the manual went all out for melodrama.
Confederation date, 3042, March 14th. First solo landing, Slime World. From what I have observed on the surface, the planet was once inhabited by humanoid lifeforms. This explains the abundance of helpful artifacts. The humanoid population was apparently unable to subdue the overwhelming numbers of quickly reproducing slime creatures, and so they abandoned the planet. I am standing next to a tunnel entryway into the planet's subterranean maze. I will enter and explore. I'm in a small chamber. The floors, walls, and ceiling are coated in green slime. I picked up several artifacts, a slime shield, and 2 devices which seem to increase the potency of my weapon. And in the slime, I found a glowing gemstone of extraordinary value. How odd that such a beautiful gem would exist here in the fetid muck.
They really tried to contextualize everything. We can handwave away small details of why these items even exist, but thanks to the manual, we know these are truly in-universe oddities. And care was put into this game to not just automatically equip items whenever we walk past them. This isn't Contra or another fast-paced action game. Todd has to stop what he's doing, get down and pick it up. For the hardware, this animation is gorgeous, and in terms of gameplay, this means you have to commit to these slightly lengthy actions. Only pick up an item when you can afford to, and in some cases, like when a head sucker is on you, you actually can't bend down anymore, because Todd is physically limited. Even though we're dealing with literal slime monsters, the devs really tried to make a believable and immersive experience. This is made even more obvious with our computer map item, which Todd has to slowly take out and look at, and given its size and weight, he can't move while it's in use. The home console remakes abandoned this for a constant map that's always on screen, and I get why. It's a lot more player friendly, but I personally prefer the original approach, where Todd has to make sure he's safe before we can use it, and we're helpless while it's in use. Convenience isn't always for the best, even if I'm sure the developers working on the Lynx game would have loved an always present map, and limitations are the only reason we have the system we have. Slime World is a game that commits to all of its animations. There are a few ways to jump, but each has a deliberate arc and you can't move mid-fall. It can feel downright clunky at first, but it's the kind of game you really need to adjust to, because it's a downright charming game. Even though it's not hard to see why this is at best considered a hidden gem, and frankly the only people who call it one of those are other people that love the Atari Lynx and are trying to make listicles about the best games for it. When we get past the game's jamming title screen, and get reminded again that winners don't do drugs, something that is a constant for our Lynx games, we're presented with what the game considers 6 different adventures. Well, technically there's 7, but that last one's a multiplayer exclusive. And hey, before I go any further, I've just got to say that this game is a multiplayer powerhouse, I imagine. I have a Lynx, I have a copy of this game, I have my own comlinks cable, but no matter where I go, no one else has a Lynx and copy of this game ready to play with me. You can play through most of the game normally in multiplayer co-op, which is a wonderful addition, but we even have a competitive deathmatch mode where players have 5 lives and you do what you'd expect. I just have to imagine that this is the best experience in the world, but I can't imagine too many people have actually been blessed with this much fun. And this goes even further than what you might initially think. This game supports 8-player multiplayer. What? Link up 8 Lynxes for the ultimate experience. Apparently this is the first game ever to support 8-player multiplayer. I don't know if that's true or if that's just like a marketing tactic, but still, this is a game from the year 1990 on a handheld system. So at the very least, this is one of the first, and it's damn impressive. You just need 8 Lynxes to accomplish this. The home console versions had just 2-player co-op, because not everything is as awesome as the Lynx. But back onto those 6 different adventures, these are each different flavors of platforming fun. We have a short and sweet easy campaign to get players into the experience. It's a blast to replay, but it mostly serves as a tutorial to get you Todd pilled. Here, every basic mechanic is laid out. Todd shoots water at slimes. They explode when defeated, and slime from this can land on you if you're not careful, and it'll often linger and do damage over time. Todd's health is represented by the colour of his sprite being taken away. The slime is de-todding Todd. Combined with things like the map being a diegetic thing, this is going for an immersive, no HUD experience. The top left of the screen notwithstanding, because that will either show you your score or what item you have ready to equip. And this can be a little distracting, especially given how small the screen is, but this is still a really impressive and immersive solution. But onto the non-colourful Todd, we restore our health by either collecting these slime gels which do a teeny bit of healing, or if we want to fully restore our health, we go into a pool of water, and Todd will clean himself up in such a cute little way. I love the animation here. We get lots of little flourishes with all the animation across the game. My personal favourite is when you fall from a great enough height, we get this brief sprite swap. Todd's able to aim his water gun at 5 different angles. Neutrally in front of him, 2 upper angles, and 2 lower ones. That said, he's always shooting water, so these will always arc downwards. When he's clinging onto a wall, he can only shoot in that one angle, but he can hang on to these sides forever, so it's easy to line up your shot accordingly. The gun can be upgraded to shoot 3 shots, though that won't last forever. That said, you still have unlimited normal ammo, and best of all, we have unlimited lives and continues here. This game can be very cheap at times, but it usually feels fair. We have checkpoints frequently that Todd will respawn at, albeit with no items and just the basic water gun, and each of these campaigns will last you dozens of minutes, but are comparatively short. This is a Lynx game after all, so it can't be an epic sprawling journey, because those batteries don't last long. But for those who can't finish the adventure in a single session, this game has password support, and I love the way it's done. Every time you pause the game, it'll give you your current password. This is incredibly welcoming for a ball-busting game, and it giving you points for your score means you're incentivized to keep replaying the game just for bragging rights. Completing any of these adventures is as easy as navigating a complex maze of a level and finding the arrow that points you to the outside. It's honestly a rewarding feeling. Seeing that damn arrow, it's like wow, all the pain I've gone through is over, until you decide to start again. But that's not to be confused with the arrows that they put in the home console release that constantly tell you which direction you need to move. It's another convenience that I understand. When you respawn, you can be a little disoriented, not knowing exactly if you should be going left or right, but this does take away from the atmosphere in my opinion. I'm probably the only one that cares about the atmosphere of Todd's adventures in Slime World, but I still stand by this. Atari does what Sega and Hudson won't.
Confederation date, 3042, March 18th. Second solo landing, Slime World. I have never experienced such a deadly fast breakdown of life support systems. I barely had time to communicate to the rescue ship before I jetpacked down to the surface. I must meet the ship at the landing zone, 47 kilometers to the east. The radiation levels on the surface are too high for safety, so I must again enter the depths of Slime World.
The second adventure here is what I imagine the fan favorite of this game would be if it had fans. It's called Exploration, and we're forced into the largest depths of the planet to find our way back to the ship. The first campaign was straightforward to navigate, but this is anything but. It twists around constantly, and is home to lots of secret passages. The enemy count's also been increased, and we have quite a few red slimes to deal with. This is in the form of enemies that will explode into, well, red slime, and instead of inflicting damage over time, red slime is always an instant kill, so be careful when shooting. Though with the equipable slime shield that gives you temporary invincibility, or even the red slime gem that you can find that does the same thing but can't be stored away for future use, these red slimes are a pushover. And the reason this instant kill isn't the worst thing ever is because this game has hidden snappers which are here and one hit kill you even though you can't see them until it's too late. Try to remember their locations, and the only reason I don't outright hate the game for their inclusion is because we have the infinite respawns. But boy, these are not my favourite obstacle. I wish the game was better at signposting where they were. Thankfully, among our list of items is the trusty jetpack, and it does what you'd expect. You fly freely around, and in addition to getting to higher places more easily, it also means never interacting with those annoying sudden floor killers. That being said, while you fly around, you are completely defenseless, and if you try to heal by touching water, it'll cause an explosion that kills you because the jetpack does not like water. All the items in the game are single use, so you can't just turn on and off the jetpack whenever you feel like it. You're committed to using it for maximum utility, because you won't get another one for a while if you even find one at all. Though don't be too stingy, use them when you can, because you can only carry one of each item, so it feels like a waste when you stumble onto a second one when you already have one in reserve. Other items include the cleanser, which can turn any pool of slime into clean water to heal up. We have enemy bait that can lure enemies to a certain location, and the overpowered mega bomb, which destroys everything in a location except for those damned hidden snappers. But it'll make the entire room basically enemy free, as well as destroying pools of water, items, and everything else in it. It'll even kill you if you're in that room still, so it's best to open a door, toss it in, and immediately go back out. You'll be protected by the slime door. This item is overkill, but it's great when you need it. The game's third adventure is another one I can see being a fan favourite to people, though a different sect of people than the exploration one, is Action Time. This has much less exploration but focuses more on delivering lots of enemies in difficult positions. If you haven't gotten a handle on how to play as Todd properly, this will be your teaching moment, because you need to learn how to efficiently kill everything. The enemy variety is just the right balance for this game. There's enough guys that we don't get bored, but few enough that we can easily learn how they all behave. We have normal patrolling guys, things that jump around, ones that go for your head and restrict your movement, these tentacles that do tentacle things, and there's lots of maggots. Though enemies aren't the only obstacle in this game, we have lots of different slime here, like the slimy floors and walls that each behave differently. Blue slime will cause you to slide about uncontrollably, or you'll just slip off if you're trying to climb it. The red slime makes you bounce, and brown slime is adhesive so you can't jump at all. Also, on the topic of non-enemy hazards, we'll have what I'll incorrectly describe as slime waterfalls. You often have to jump through these, so be quick or else it'll get you.
Confederation date 3043, January 3rd, 4th solo landing, Slime World. My ship's in trouble, and Slime World is going to collapse in on itself. The computer says the fungal growths that normally stabilize the planet have gone wild. If they are not removed from the slime, the planet is doomed. I must find and pick the mushrooms to gain time for the repairs needed on the ship.
And now it's time for what is my favourite adventure, Suspense. The planet is collapsing in on itself. Please disregard how this makes no sense as an adventure in the middle of a timeline, let alone one that repeatedly happens since it kept happening in the manual. But you have 2 minutes to escape the planet or else it melts away like a Mario Paint wipe. That said, collecting mushrooms will stabilize the planet for just a little longer, so use these to extend your timer. This is a much more frantic mode, and you still have your usual fare like enemies, hazards, and items, but now you have to rush through everything, or else you disappear into nothingness. And whenever you die normally from lack of health, you will respawn with the same timer counting down from wherever you died at. I should mention the obvious while I can. This game has a very tight zoom, and this is something the home console releases eased up on, but at the risk of being really pretentious, I love the limited view we have here. It instills mystery and a constant sense of dread for what's up ahead. And since this is a slower paced game for the most part, it never hinders the game for me, like it would in faster paced games like Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for Game Boy. Plus, this was originally designed around the tight zooms, so it's not a concession, it's just how the game was designed in the first place. But I just had to get this out of the way because for those of you viewing the video, this probably looks really claustrophobic, but you get used to it quickly. We can also pan the camera up and down a little just to see what's ahead, which is appreciated. There are no blind leaps of faith here.
Confederation date 3043, March 14th. 5th solo landing, Slime World. The ship was damaged on landing. I can't fix it. My only hope is to wander Slime World and hope for a miracle. The gods are against me. My weapon is malfunctioning, and without it, I have slim chance of survival in this hideous place.
Now, this is my least favourite adventure. Though it's not without merit. It does a lot right, and conceptually, I love it. I just don't particularly care for the execution. Here, in logic mode, we're completely defenseless as our water gun is broken, and we have to entirely rely on avoiding enemies and utilizing items at the exact right times. This is the most different feeling mode in the game. It throws away our main gameplay mechanic. And this adventure is so radically different, but this is the only one that can't be done in co-op. It's strictly focused on its ideas, and extra players would throw this off. But its execution, like I said, leaves a bit to be desired. For starters, the first room is full of hidden snappers on tiny platforms, just remember the pathway through it. That alone makes me not want to replay it much. It's a very trial and error way to start off the campaign, which I understand is kind of a point of something called logic, but it's just not what I find personally enjoyable. Thankfully in this mode, unlike all the others, items will reset upon death, and that's because they're 100% required here. Items aren't a kindness, but the intended solution, and you'd softlock yourself every time you die if this wasn't a feature. One thing I adore about this mode is it has lots of moving and rearranging floors, and it's done in a really trippy style, and it's just a fun gimmick. Though it doesn't really work the best with a game that has such slow and deliberate movement. But still, most of the logic mode is really fun to do. It just has small segments that I can't stand, unfortunately. So this is my least favourite mode in a game I still love, and I still really like this mode. I don't want to seem like I hate it. I just wish this was done even better. But if the whole idea of being defenseless was still a little too easy for you, Todd's adventures in Slime World escalates massively with its final adventure titled Arcade. This is a relatively short map compared to some of the lengthy ones we've been doing, but the gimmick here is we have no checkpoints. Once you die, it's back to the beginning. It's not filled to the brim with hard enemies, and the trek is comfortable enough, but it's the fear that having one mistake will cost you everything. So it's the ultimate challenge for Todd veterans, and a wonderful way to end this amazing game. For those of you who need to know more lore in the manual, the original explorer presumably died here in this final leg of the journey, and it was all followed up by the same events again, but detailing the multiplayer versions of each campaign.
Confederation Date 3044, October 18th. First expedition with crew. Slime World. I found my brother's ship, and am continuing his log, but I have no hope that my brother lives. My crew and I will explore for his remains, but from what I have read of this place, I don't think we will be successful.
This all feels similar, but this time it's a crew we get to hear about, complete with multiple deaths of these fellow adventurers, and it even leads to a mutiny, which is how the battle mode is contextualized for those of us who want lore for every fun feature of a silly game. If the needless details in this adventure didn't make it obvious, this is such a charming game. But even without these little flourishes, this is an endlessly addictive little title to speed on through and improve at, and the variety it packs is astonishing. It's kind of only really held back by not being longer and packing multiple stages per adventure, but if it did that, it would risk being tiresome, and no doubt it would not be ideal to play on the Lynx considering how long that thing lasts on its batteries. So given the constraints it was developed for, this game is basically perfect for its length. It even found 3 separate occasions to tell us winners don't do drugs. Once on the box, once again on the splash screen, and again after the credits on the title screen. And it's true, winners don't do drugs. Instead, winners are fed nothing but vitamins even if they hate it, and that's because next video is on Monster Rancher Advance 2, the 5th main game in my beloved Suezo-filled series, Monster Rancher. I've wanted to cover this series since I started this channel, and I'm finally introducing you with a game no one really talks about because it's for the Game Boy Advance and doesn't use discs. But look how cute the creatures are, even Suezo is adorable here.